My stepchildren said, "You're nothing without mom." So I let mom handle the bills, the repairs, and the complaints. She lasted a week. My name's John. I'm 44. 4 years ago, I moved to Austin, Texas when I married Hannah. With her came 2 sons, Trevor and Zach. Their father lives in California, but that doesn't mean he was gone. No, he was everywhere. In their phones. On their birthdays. In the way they looked at me when I asked them to do the smallest thing. His ghost lived here. His blood lived here. And I was just the man paying for everything. He showed up in pixels. FaceTime calls every other weekend. Big smile. Laughter like a soundtrack. He'd promise a visit, say he was proud, then vanish before the details came due. Trevor would end the call glowing. Zach would brag about the new shoes their dad ordered online. And I'd be in the kitchen, elbow deep in dishes, thinking about the thousands I spent that month alone. Paid. Quietly. Consistently. I didn't do it for praise. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't hope for it. Tuition. Braces. Car insurance. School trips. Groceries. Clothes. The Colorado summer camp they begged to go to just because their friends were going. The camp cost more than my own childhood car. They smiled for the pictures, posed with new gear, captioned every photo with hashtags and hearts, and tagged their father. Not me. I told myself love was earned, not owed. That maybe, in time, they'd see who stayed. I fixed what broke. Replaced the fuse box when the lights went out. Got on my hands and knees to find the leak under the kitchen sink. I rebuilt the back fence after a storm took it down. 8 hours in the sun, splinters in both palms. I replaced the HVAC last winter. $5, $800 straight off my credit card. No thanks. No questions. Trevor walked in the next day, looked at the thermostat, and muttered, "Dad would have bought a better one. Dad." As in, the man who hadn't set foot in this house in over a year. I didn't argue, didn't correct, just filed it away. Because in this house, even loyalty had a zip code I didn't share. When Zach's bike broke, I fixed it. When Trevor needed a tutor, I found one and paid cash every week. When the fridge broke, I replaced it. I didn't ask. I didn't wait. I just did. And they took. Always took. I drove them to practice. Waited in the car while they ignored me on the ride back. Zach once left his cleats behind and blamed me to his mom. Said I hadn't reminded him. That night, Hannah looked at me like I'd failed a test I didn't know I was taking. She said nothing, just sighed, and went back to folding laundry. Every time I tried to lay down some kind of rule, Hannah would soften it, sand it down until it was meaningless. I'd say, "No video games on school nights." She'd smile, tilt her head, and say, "They had a hard week." I'd ask them to help around the house. Zach rolled his eyes, Trevor shrugged and walked away. I once asked them to mow the lawn. Trevor said, "Why? That's your job." My job. That word stuck with me longer than it should have. Was it my job? To cook and clean and pay and smile and disappear into the background? I started watching them closer. Not just their words, but the silences between them. The way Zach would ask for $20 without looking me in the eye. The way Trevor would grunt a thank you only after Hannah prompted him. The way they treated my car like a rideshare and the house like a hotel. But nothing hit as hard as what happened that Thursday. It was just a normal evening. I grilled steaks. Hannah made a salad. We sat at the table, the 4 of us, like we were a real family. I thought maybe, just maybe, it was a good night to talk. Cleared my throat. I think it might be time the boys started helping out. Chores, little things around the house. Just some responsibility. Trevor didn't even look up from his plate. "You're nothing without Mom. If it weren't for her, you wouldn't even be in this house." Silence. I waited. I looked at Hannah. She kept her eyes on her plate. Didn't say a word. Didn't flinch. Not even a nervous smile. Not even a "Trevor, that's not okay." Just silence. I didn't yell. Didn't throw my fork. I just sat there, the knife still in my hand, the food still warm. And I realized, that wasn't a new thought. That wasn't teenage rebellion. That was a belief. A truth they had been living in long before I heard it out loud. So I finished my steak. And I made a decision. I was going to test what nothing really meant. Because if I was truly nothing, then nothing should be easy to live without, right? I'd been invisible long enough. The next part of this story begins the following morning. And that's where you'll see what nothing really held up in this house. The morning after Trevor said it, I woke before anyone else. The house was quiet, heavy with that particular stillness that comes right before a fracture finally shows itself. I didn't pack a bag, didn't walk out the door. That would have been easy, dramatic even. But no, I stayed. Because if I really meant nothing, then they could live with nothing. I started with the money. I opened my laptop and stared at the screen. Passwords, portals, payments. Every dollar that kept this family running filtered through me. It hadn't felt like power at the time, just obligation. But that morning, obligation became leverage. First, the utilities. Gas, electric, water. All on autopay. All tied to my account. I shut them off one by one. Then the luxuries. Netflix, gone. Hulu, Spotify, the Wi-Fi, canceled. Trevor's car insurance, revoked. Zach's prepaid debit card, frozen. Their lunch money accounts, disabled. I left the account balances at 0. Then I made a list. A long, quiet list. Emergency contacts. Repairmen. The plumber's number. The HVAC service. The electrician who fixed the circuit panel. Where the fuse box was, how to reset the water heater when the garbage was picked up. All the invisible threads that kept this place from collapsing into chaos. I wrote them all down and taped the list to the fridge. Then I left the kitchen. Sat down at the table. Waited. They didn't notice the shift at first. Not at breakfast. I let them eat the last of the eggs. Let Zach leave his plate in the sink like always. Let Trevor grab his backpack and walk out the door without so much as a glance my way. I went about my day. Worked from the spare room. Ate my lunch alone. Washed my own plate, dried it, put it back where it belonged. No confrontation. No raised voices. Just subtraction. Quiet, thorough subtraction. That evening, things started to fray. Zach tried to buy a game online. I heard the groan from upstairs. The stomp down the hallway. He walked past me, phone in hand. Something's wrong with my card. I didn't look up. Not anymore. He blinked. What? It's been deactivated. You'll have to talk to your dad. He opened his mouth, closed it again, then turned to Hannah, who was sitting on the couch. She looked at me, uncertain. John, what's going on? I met her eyes. I'm stepping back. Trevor came in 10 minutes later, fuming. His car's insurance app had sent a warning. Policy canceled. He was due to drive to a party that night. I waited for him to storm in, and he did. You canceled my insurance? No, I said. I stopped paying for it. Big difference. He stared at me like I'd slapped him. Are you serious? I nodded. That's illegal or something. You can't just drop me. You're 18. You want insurance, you can pay for it. His eyes darted to his mother. Mom? She looked at me again, but this time I saw it, doubt, maybe even fear, because she knew what was next. She just didn't want to say it. Trevor shouted again. Why are you doing this? I shrugged. I'm doing nothing. Exactly what I was told I meant to this family. He slammed the door behind him. Upstairs, his footsteps thundered like a tantrum. The next morning, I made my own breakfast. Eggs, toast, coffee. I didn't cook for them. Didn't clean. When Zach asked if there was any cereal, I pointed at the pantry. You're the one who does groceries, he mumbled. Not anymore. What's that supposed to mean? It means I buy what I eat. You do the same. It didn't take long for the cracks to show. Hannah ran the dishwasher that night. Forgot the soap tablets had run out. She asked me to grab some at the store. I told her I didn't need any. The faucet in the downstairs bathroom started leaking. Drip, drip, drip. I let it drip. The garbage filled up. I walked past it. Trevor groaned. Are you seriously not going to take that out? I looked him in the eye. I'm not the one who filled it. On day 3, half the house lost power. I had warned them weeks ago that the circuit panel was overloaded. No one listened. Now the bedroom outlets were dead. Zach came to me whining about his Xbox. I handed him the electrician's number. He stared at the paper like it was written in a foreign language. "You can't just leave this on us," he snapped. "Call your dad." I said. They did. Or tried to. I heard the call from the hallway. A short one. Zach came back pale. "He's busy," he muttered. I nodded. Imagine that. By the weekend, the tension turned to panic. Hannah asked me what I was doing. Not angrily, not with blame, but with genuine confusion. "I don't understand," she said. I kept my voice calm. "I paid. I cleaned. I fixed. I asked for respect. Instead, I was told I was nothing. So I stopped doing everything." Her eyes searched my face. "You don't mean that." "I do," I said. "You just didn't see it until the power went out." She tried to smooth it over. Said the boys didn't mean it. Said it was just hormones, stress, growing pains. I looked at her like she'd grown a second head. "Hannah, they've said it for years. You just never corrected them." She looked away. The microwave broke Sunday afternoon. Sparks, then silence. I sat at the table reading. Trevor came down, holding the cord in his hand. "It's dead," he said. I nodded. "Well, are you gonna fix it?" "No." "Why not?" "Because I don't need it." He looked stunned. "You're just done? Like that?" Exactly like that. Zach was next. Later that night. Not angry, just quiet. He sat down across from me. "We didn't know how much you were doing," he said. I nodded. Let the silence hold. "I mean, we just thought it was normal." "It was normal. Because I made it normal. But it's not free." He looked ashamed. Said thank you. For the first time. It didn't fix anything. But it was different. Hannah came the next morning. No makeup. I was tired. "You were right," she said. I didn't answer. I let them talk that way. I didn't stop them. I thought it would pass. I thought I was protecting them. "You weren't," I said. "You were protecting yourself from conflict." She nodded. "And now we're the ones paying for it." Another pause. "I'm sorry," she said. It hung in the air like smoke. Not quite real. Not quite gone. I didn't forgive her. Not yet. But I heard her. That night I fixed the microwave. Quietly. Not for them. For myself. Because I needed it. Because it was broken. But I didn't tell anyone I'd done it. And that felt like something new. Something honest. They started picking up after themselves. Not perfectly. Not without grumbles. But different. Not because they respected me yet, but because they felt the weight I'd always carried and now dropped. 7 days. That's all it took to shift the house. Not burn it down. Just shake it hard enough to hear what cracked. 7 days was enough. And next we'll see what Hannah does with the rubble. By the 8th day the house had gone quiet. Not peaceful, just exhausted. The noise of entitlement had dimmed. No more shouting across rooms. No more stomping upstairs when things didn't go their way. Just a worn-out silence, stretched thin over everyone's face like plastic wrap on leftovers nobody wanted. I was still there. Still sleeping in the same bed. Still walking the same halls. But I was absent from the role they had all silently cast me in. The provider. The fixer. The reliable nobody. I made my own coffee. Did my own laundry. Cooked one meal at a time for one person. I used to think of leftovers as planning. Now I saw them for what they were. Assumptions. That I'd be there again. That I'd provide again. That I'd always be available. I left the dishes where they were. Didn't remind anyone. Didn't sigh when the sink filled up. Took Zach 3 days to ask Hannah why the plate smelled. She snapped at him. "You know how to wash a dish, don't you?" That was the first crack in her voice. A break in the rehearsed patience she'd worn like armor since the day I married her. Trevor tried to cook frozen pizza that Friday night. He burned it. Set off the smoke alarm. Instead of asking me how to disable it, he dragged a chair across the floor and waved a dish towel at the ceiling for 10 minutes. I didn't move. I watched. I let him struggle. Because the world doesn't hand you tools unless you earn them. And I had offered tools for years, lessons, patience, time. All they did was spit them back at me and call their father when things got too real. He hadn't called back. I know because I checked the call logs. Not proud of it, but I needed to know. Trevor tried twice. Zach once. All ignored. Silence from California. Silence from the man who'd built the blueprint they still worshipped. Hannah finally lost it on Saturday. I was outside, raking leaves. I heard the screen door slam behind her. Heard her steps in the grass. She stopped behind me. "This can't go on," she said. I didn't turn around. "It already has. They're falling apart. They were never built to stand. That's not fair." "No," I said. "Fair would have been you telling Trevor he was wrong. When he said I was nothing." She didn't respond. I kept raking. "You're punishing everyone. I'm stepping away. They don't know what to do. They never learned," I said. "Because every time I tried to teach them, you stepped in. Smoothed it over. Told me they were just kids. Now they're not kids. And you're scared." "I didn't mean to." "But you did." Her voice cracked. "I thought you'd always be here." "I was." "That's the problem." She sat on the porch steps, hands in her lap, like a child caught cheating on a test. "What do you want?" she asked. I stopped raking. "Respect," I said. She looked up. "Not love," I continued. "Not gratitude. Just acknowledgement. That I held this place together. That every comfort they enjoyed came with a cost. And that I paid it. They know now. Too late. You're still here. Only physically. You're still in this family." "No," I said. "I was an asset. Now I'm a presence. That's different." She didn't speak after that. Just sat. We watched the wind pull dead leaves off the trees and scatter them into the street. Later that night, Trevor approached me. First time he looked me in the eye in weeks. "I know I messed up," he said. I didn't answer. "I didn't mean it." "You did." "I was mad." "You believed it." He hesitated. "I didn't know what you were doing. What you gave up. Now you do." He shifted on his feet. "So what, are we just on our own now?" I looked up at him. "You always were. You just didn't know it." His face went slack. That boyish arrogance that used to hang between us like a curtain. It wasn't gone, but it was slipping. "I'm sorry," he said. Sounded real. But it was still too easy. "Then do something with it." He didn't ask what I meant. He nodded and walked away. Zach came the next day. Quiet as usual. He didn't say much. Just handed me a broom and started sweeping the porch. No eye contact. No apology. But he swept. For 20 minutes. Didn't stop until the steps were clean. That was better. Still, I wasn't moved. Not yet. A week of struggle doesn't undo 4 years of disregard. Hannah was different. She looked older suddenly. Not in her face, but in her movements. Slower. Heavier. As if she finally felt the weight I had carried alone. She cooked dinner Sunday night. Set the table for 4. No one spoke. We chewed in silence. When it ended, no one moved. I started to stand. Hannah said, "I'll clean." And she did. Trevor helped. Zach dried the plates. I watched. I said nothing. The next morning, the garbage was out on the curb before I woke up. The dishwasher ran overnight. The smoke alarm had new batteries. Someone had bought groceries. Just enough, no junk. The house didn't feel healed. But it felt aware. Still, I didn't give them everything back. The accounts stayed shut. The insurance stayed canceled. I let them learn what managing life looks like. What money feels like when it runs through their own hands instead of mine. On Thursday, Hannah brought me coffee. Black. The way I like it. She didn't say anything. Just left it beside my laptop. I sipped it. No smile. No thank you. She knew not to expect one yet. Later that day, I fixed the slow-draining tub upstairs. Not because they asked. Not for them. I did it because I wanted to. Because the sound bothered me. That's what I'd forgotten in all this. I'm allowed to do things for myself. I don't owe anyone the best parts of me unless they earn it. And for the first time in years, I was learning what it felt like to be a man. Not a ghost, not a paycheck. Just a man. With boundaries. with value. By Sunday, the rhythm of the house had changed. Not drastically, not like in movies where everyone hugs and cries. No, this was quieter. A little less arrogance. A few more efforts. Zach asked if I wanted anything from the store. Trevor offered to take out the recycling. I said no, not to be cruel, but because I wanted them to keep trying, to keep learning, not to win me back, but to become something more than what they'd been. And Hannah? She stopped smiling when things got tense. Stopped making excuses for them. Once, when Zach left his shoes on the stairs, she called him back. Made him move them. No eye roll. No lecture. Just a quiet correction. She was learning too. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was motion. Forward. And sometimes that's enough. The truth is, I don't know what happens next. I don't know if they'll keep this up. I don't know if it's real or just survival. But I do know this. They felt the difference. They felt what absence really means. And they started to move. Now the question is, do I want to meet them halfway? Because forgiveness isn't free either. And the years I gave them aren't refundable. 7 days. That's how long it took for the house to crumble without me holding it up. And by the 8th, they began to see it not in the big moments but in the weight of every small one. Cold dinners. Overdue bills. The garbage that didn't take itself out. The silence that followed every request I used to fulfill before they even asked. I stayed. That was important. I stayed because my leaving would have given them something to blame. But silence? Silence has no shape to punch. It just fills the room like water and waits for someone to learn how to swim. I watched as Hannah started to flinch at every new expense. Zach asked her if he could order takeout. She hesitated, looked at her bank app, then told him to use the leftovers. Trevor's gas tank hovered at empty. He texted me, short, polite, artificial. Can I borrow $20? I didn't answer. He never followed up. Sunday morning, I made breakfast for myself. Omelette, toast, coffee. No extra plates. No announcements. No smells wafting through the house for anyone but me. Zach wandered in, sniffed the air, eyes half awake. You didn't make any for us? I looked him dead in the eye. Did you ask? He stood there, mouth opening and closing, then turned and walked out. No apology, but no attitude either. That, in this house, was change. Later that afternoon, Hannah sat across from me at the dining table. She looked tired, not from lack of sleep, from clarity. I thought we were building something, she said. I thought the chaos would pass. I said nothing. She kept going. I told myself they'd grow up eventually, that it was normal. Teenagers, you know? I wasn't raising teenagers, I said. I was raising limits. She winced. I don't think she expected me to still be that sharp. I didn't think it was that bad, she whispered. It wasn't bad for you. That landed. I saw it. She leaned back, crossed her arms like she needed to hold herself together. I let them get away with too much, she said. You let them disrespect me. Silence. And when they did, you said nothing, I added. Which is the same as agreeing. She didn't argue, didn't defend herself, just sat there, nodding slowly, like every sentence was a nail closing a coffin she built with her own hands. I want to fix it, she said. I stared at her. She looked away first. I don't know if that's possible, I said. You're still here. Because I wanted to see if it mattered to anyone. Her face changed then. Not sadness, fear. Real fear. That this wasn't a tantrum. That this wasn't a lesson with a finish line. That I wasn't threatening to leave. I had already left. I just hadn't packed. The truth is, I never wanted a war. I wanted partnership. I wanted a home where I wasn't an outsider. A man propping up someone else's legacy while being treated like a guest with a wallet. Trevor came to me later that day. Asked if I could teach him how to check the oil in his car. I almost said yes, but I stopped myself. Why do you want to know? He hesitated. Because I should know. Not because I want something. That was the right answer. We walked out to the driveway. I taught him, step by step, not like a bonding moment, like a transaction. He asked, I gave. Respect first. Then knowledge. Afterward, he said thank you. Looked me in the eye when he said it. No one clapped. No violins played. But that small moment said more than any apology could. Zach folded his own laundry that night. Poorly. But he did it. Hannah made dinner again. Lasagna. She served everyone, including me. No speech. No expectation. Just food. I cleaned my plate. Set it in the sink. That was all. Later that week, the power went out again. Fuse box. It was the same circuit. This time, no one called for me. Instead, I heard them. Fumbling in the garage. Flashlights. Curses. Laughing at each other. They figured it out in 30 minutes. They could do it. They just never had to. The next morning, Hannah came into the kitchen holding a piece of paper. A budget. It had food, utilities, insurance, car maintenance. All handwritten, penciled with notes. I want to learn, she said. I want to take responsibility. I nodded. She didn't ask for me to take anything back. That mattered. She sat beside me while I explained each line item. I showed her how much I'd been covering. Her mouth moved, counting zeros. Her hand shook a little. This is more than I thought. It's what I've been doing. For years. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. She knew. That night she sat with the boys. Talked to them. Not gently. Not like a friend. Like a mother who had woken up from a long sleep. I heard pieces of it. Not acceptable. He's done more for you than your real father ever has. If I hear that kind of disrespect again, there will be consequences. No shouting. Just a steady voice laying down truth. The next morning, I noticed my name on a sticky note stuck to the fridge. In Zach's handwriting. It just said, thanks for staying. Small. Honest. Unprompted. Trevor followed a few days later. He didn't write anything. But he offered to mow the lawn. Without being asked. They were trying. But I had learned too. That trying doesn't mean it's owed. That forgiveness isn't passive. It's earned. On the 7th day, Hannah asked to talk. Alone. We sat on the porch. The sun was setting behind the neighbor's roofline, casting long shadows over the yard I used to mow by myself. I can't keep up, she said. I thought you'd always be there. That I could ignore everything you did, and it would just keep getting done. I listened. But without you, she continued, this place is falling apart. I don't just mean the chores. I mean us. The way we talk to each other. The way we move through this house. I nodded. She swallowed. I thought if I made it easy for them, they'd feel safe. You made it easy for them to be ungrateful. Tears came then. Real ones. Not manipulative. Not defensive. I'm sorry, she said. I should have stood up for you. I should have made them see what you were doing. I should have treated you like a partner, not a backup plan. I didn't speak right away. I let the silence stretch until it meant something. Then I said, you said I was nothing without you. She flinched. Well now, I continued. You're everything. Everything is yours. Because I stopped holding up the things you all let go. She looked away, wiped her face. I want to rebuild. You can try. But you won't help? I'm done carrying people who call me luggage. That night, I started looking for apartments. Not far. Just enough space for myself. A bed. A small table. Quiet. By Friday, I signed the lease. On Saturday, I packed my things. Not all of them, just the ones that mattered. My books. My tools. A few clothes. The rest I left behind not as a gift, but as proof. Proof of what I had built. I didn't make a speech. Didn't wait for tears. I left a note. This isn't revenge. This is reality. You told me what I meant to you. Now you get to live inside those words. The house didn't crumble when I left. It stayed upright, but quieter, a little colder, a little more real. And I didn't disappear. I just stopped being invisible. Now I live in a modest place on the edge of town. 2 rooms, kettle, a window that faces the sunrise. And for the first time in years, I feel like someone, even if I'm the only one who sees it.